Imagine standing in a building, one that you designed from the ground up.
Right, like totally engineered by you.
Exactly. Engineered down to the millimeter to be perfectly, just flawlessly silent. The light is catching the concrete just right. The dust is hanging in the air. And then, out of nowhere, you hear a sound.
A sound that definitely shouldn't be there.
Right, because it's not coming from the walls, and it's definitely not coming from the street outside. It is this deep, vibrating, sub-bass hum, and it's originating from a forgotten crescent-shaped scar right behind your left ear.
Which, I mean, that completely violates our fundamental sense of where our physical environment ends and our own biology begins.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that visceral, just deeply eerie moment is the entry point for today's deep dive into the quiet theory.
Yeah, Louis Benaldi's 2025 sci-fi thriller.
Exactly. And we have a really fascinating stack of source material to get through today. I mean, this isn't just your standard dystopian narrative. It is a dense philosophical exploration of architectural geometry, psychic networks, and the actual weaponization of human memory.
So our mission today is to guide you through this terrifying concept that Benaldi calls cognitive architecture. We are going to examine the fragility of human consciousness, really.
Right, how fragile it actually is.
Yeah, and explore how the most profound systems of control can be hidden literally in plain sight, like built into the very concrete and steel of the world around you.
We really have to start with that sub-bass vibration. It happens to our protagonist, Thomas Calder. He's an architectural project manager, and he's standing in the unfinished atrium of the Caldwell Institute.
Just minding his own business, essentially.
Basically, yeah. And he feels this tone. He describes it so beautifully, not as a sound, but as a shape disguised as a sound.
I love that phrasing.
It's so good. So following that sensation, he finds something carved into an 80-foot freshly poured concrete wall, something he definitely did not authorize.
Right. Carved into this pristine wall is a hyper-precise geometric pattern. It is this complex lattice of intersecting circles, arcs, and lines.
And the center is the weirdest part, right?
Yeah, the focal point in the center consists of 7 small circles. 6 of them are completely empty, and the 7th is filled with pitch-black ink.
Which instantly shatters Thomas's reality because, this isn't just random vandalism.
Not at all.
22 years ago, when he was 10 years old, this exact same geometric pattern was drawn in chalk on his childhood bedroom floor.
Just casually chalked on the floor.
Right, and it appeared the morning after he mysteriously vanished from his bed for 9 minutes. He suffered a supposed seizure that he has absolutely no memory of, and he woke up with that crescent-shaped scar behind his ear.
And the absolute last thing he remembers from that night is this androgynous voice in the dark, whispering, "Not yet."
So creepy.
It is. Benaldi uses this inciting incident to brilliantly fuse physical space with psychological trauma. I mean, the architecture itself becomes a trigger.
Yeah, and while Thomas is reeling from this, his partner, Celeste Raymond, finds him. She becomes his critical anchor throughout this whole narrative.
She really does.
But as they're examining the wall, this mysterious man in spotless, patchless coveralls approaches them. He casually informs Thomas that the filled ink circle is a signal and that Thomas is currently, quote, being read.
Being read.
Yeah. And I love this concept, but we need to break down the actual mechanics of it. It's like finding a hidden locked door in your house, but realizing the door isn't in the drywall, it's inside your own memory.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
But how exactly can an architectural pattern act as a physical key to a human mind? I mean, how does looking at a wall cause a scar to vibrate and broadcast a signal?
Well, to understand the how, we have to kind of abandon the idea that memory is just data stored on a biological hard drive in our brains.
Right, we have to think bigger.
Exactly. In the universe of the quiet theory, memory and human consciousness possess a measurable, manipulatable physical frequency. Benaldi introduces this science of quiet harmonics.
Okay.
Yeah. So think about the study of cymatics in our real world, where sound waves played through a metal plate cause sand to arrange itself into complex geometric shapes.
Oh, right. So it's like sound creating physical geometry.
Precisely. Benaldi simply reverses that physics. Physical geometry creates a cognitive wave. The pattern on the concrete wall functions as what the book calls a resonance mirror.
A resonance mirror. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so when Thomas looks at the wall, his optic nerve processes the specific mathematical ratios of those arcs and circles. That visual processing triggers a highly specific neural oscillation in his visual cortex.
And because he was physically marked as a child with that scar, his brain was basically altered to be receptive to that exact oscillation, right?
You got it. That neural oscillation creates a feedback loop. The visual input of the geometry hits the brain, the altered neural pathways resonate with the scar, and then his sensory system interprets that internal resonance as the sub-bass tone.
Oh, wow. So that explains what the man in the coveralls means by being red. By reacting to the pattern, Thomas's neural pathways are forced into a specific wave state.
Exactly. He's essentially broadcasting a signal outward that indicates his dormant programming has been activated. The filled ink circle is the visual catalyst that completes the circuit.
Okay, so the discovery of that pattern is terrifying on an isolated individual level. But the true horror of Benaldi's world is how that localized technology scales up.
Oh, it scales up massively.
Right, because this isn't just a trap set for Thomas in one building.
Yeah.
To grasp the sheer scale of this manipulation, we have to examine the backstory of Elias Farn.
Yes, the physicist and original architect who designed this entire system.
He's sort of the ghost haunting the infrastructure of this city, right?
He really is. He's the creator of the Quiet File, which is the foundational document detailing the theories of cognitive resonance. And Farn's tragedy is that he eventually discovers his own technology has been used to alter his own memories.
The realization scene for that is just a masterclass in tension. Farn goes out in the pouring rain, standing under a city bridge to examine a 30-foot concrete support pillar he personally engineered years prior.
And to any ordinary commuter, it's just a massive chunk of urban infrastructure.
Exactly. But Farn looks at it with the eye of its creator, and he realizes the pillar has been modified. It's asymmetrical.
He finds 4 microscopic hairline vertical incisions in the concrete, and they're spaced exactly 11 centimeters apart.
And those 11 centimeters are the key, right?
Yeah, they correspond to Farn's quiet ratios. Those tiny incisions fundamentally change the acoustic properties of the concrete.
Which introduces us to the antagonists.
Yeah.
Officially, they're the Cognitive Alignment Division.
But the Whisper Networks call them the preeners.
The Pruners, which is such a deeply unsettling name.
It really is.
Yeah.
And they don't use conventional violence. If an individual discovers a truth that threatens the stability of the system or possesses a memory that causes societal friction, the pruners step in and simply snip that memory out.
They just erase it.
Exactly. They operate on the philosophy of subtraction. And the mechanism they use to execute this on a mass scale is what Farn discovered under the bridge. It's the urban lattice.
Okay, wait. So this is where I want to push back on the scale of this conspiracy, or at least look at it objectively for a moment. They aren't just erasing memories in a lab.
Right.
They are using city infrastructure, bridges, pillars, subway tunnels. They're using all of that as a giant invisible Wi-Fi router to overwrite human thought.
That is exactly what they're doing. The infrastructure intercepts ambient urban noise like traffic, wind, trains, and it vibrates at that 11-centimeter ratio to generate an invisible infrasonic frequency.
So it acts as a giant imperceptible blanket over the city, basically constantly recalibrating the population's cognitive resonance.
Exactly. It maintains a baseline frequency of compliance and erases destructive truths.
But from a purely utilitarian standpoint, I mean, if humanity is constantly tearing itself apart over conflicting narratives, inherited hatred, and collective trauma, maybe a baseline frequency of forced peace is the only way to prevent societal collapse.
That's a valid question.
Like, if a subway pillar subtly erases the impulse for mob violence or a deeply destructive ideology, isn't there an argument that this benevolent gaslighting is actually a net good?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the exact philosophical trap Benaldi wants the reader to grapple with. The pruners view themselves as the ultimate guardians of peace.
They think they're the good guys.
They genuinely believe society cannot handle the raw, chaotic nature of unvarnished truth. But the author counters that utilitarian argument by showing us the human cost.
Right, the note.
Yes. When Elias Farn runs back to his car, panicked from discovering the modified pillar, he finds a weathered blueprint on his passenger seat. And written on it, in his own handwriting, is a desperate note. It just says, "You promised her."
He wrote it to himself before he was pruned.
Exactly. He was trying to warn his future self. Farn was forced to forget a girl he loved just to maintain his compliance with the system.
Wow.
That note dismantles the utilitarian defense. It basically argues that the cost of engineered peace is the amputation of love, grief, and individual truth. You cannot surgically remove the capacity for societal friction without also removing the essence of human connection.
Yeah, that makes the stakes intensely personal for Thomas and Celeste. The city they are standing in is actively weaponized against their minds.
It's everywhere.
Right. I mean, think about your own commute for a second. You walk past thousands of concrete structures, completely oblivious to how the angles and acoustics might be subtly smoothing out your
It's
memories.
a terrifying thought.
It really is. So to stop this, Thomas and Celeste realize they have to go on the offensive. They need Elias Farn's original quiet file to counter the network.
This propels them to Davidson Station, which is this abandoned liminal rail terminal deep underground.
And they're guided by a rogue operative, right?
Yeah, known only as the Guardian. They are seeking the hidden entrance to Vault 19, where the quiet file is supposedly stored.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Benaldi takes the concept of a secure vault and turns it completely upside down.
He totally reinvents it.
Usually, a vault protects things with thick steel and biometric retina scanners or complex passwords. But the entrance to Vault 19 is a rusted metal door with absolutely no handle.
Right.
In the center is a keyhole inset with a series of concentric metallic rings. You don't punch in a code. You have to physically place your hand on the rings and harmonize your cognitive resonance with the lock.
Because the Guardian warns them that Vault 19 is a sentient, adaptive architectural labyrinth. It doesn't read your fingerprints, it reads your moral compass.
So if you approach the vault with arrogance, fear, or a desire for power, what happens?
The architecture physically shifts to trap and consume you.
Which is wild. How does a person prove their intent is pure to a room?
Well, the mechanics of how a physical room reads human intent are really fascinating. It's essentially a biofeedback loop on a massive architectural scale.
Okay, how does that work?
When a person lies or harbors a selfish hidden motive, their brain is laboring under cognitive dissonance. They are simultaneously holding the truth and constructing a fabrication. That internal conflict creates a chaotic, fractured neural frequency.
Right, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, so microstresses in the brain emit erratic wavelengths, but pure intent, like a singular, unselfish focus, creates a highly coherent, laser-like wave state.
Oh, I see.
The metallic rings on the door and the vault itself act as a massive piezo crystal. It only unlocks when it is struck by a perfectly coherent cognitive wave.
So that requirement for a coherent wave state sets the stage for the climax inside the core chamber. When Thomas and Celeste finally reach the center, they find the quiet file suspended in a translucent cube over a deep structural pit.
But the pruners are deeply embedded in the lattice, and they detect the breach.
And they don't send armed guards to stop Thomas.
No, they initiate a massive psychic attack through the urban network. They project shadowy, distorted holograms directly into the chamber, basically whispering failures and insecurities into Thomas's mind.
They are actively trying to inject cognitive dissonance into his brain.
Exactly. If the pruners can scramble his coherent wave state, if they can make him doubt himself, or succumb to the terror of the situation, his frequency will fracture.
And then the biofeedback loop of the vault will detect that chaotic frequency, reject his intent, and the architecture will literally collapse around him.
Right, but Thomas holds the line.
Yeah, and he doesn't do it by adopting some hyper-stoic action hero persona either.
Not at all.
He survives by relying entirely on his anchor, Celeste, and by locking his mind onto a single pure truth. He focuses on the fragmented memory of a girl named Lydia.
Right, the girl from his past.
He remembers a promise he made to protect her when they were children. It is the very memory the pruners tried to erase from him 22 years ago, leaving that scar.
It's all connected.
Yeah, so he stops thinking about the pruners. He stops thinking about the fate of the city, and he pours his entire consciousness into honoring that one promise.
And that unselfish, profound human connection acts as an unbreakable stabilizer. It creates a harmonic resonance, so intensely pure that it acts like a shield.
Wow.
The pruner's psychic projections just shatter against that coherence, and the vault recognizes his intent, yielding the quiet file.
Securing the file is a massive victory, obviously. But they are still deep underground, and the urban lattice is still broadcasting its suppression frequency across millions of people.
They have to use the file to dismantle the network from its source.
Right. Emerging from the vault, they find the city has become an active war zone of the mind.
The pruners are pushing the asymmetrical pillars and hidden nodes to their absolute limits, literally warping reality in the rain-slicked streets.
The architecture itself seems to bend, projecting illusions to herd Thomas and Celeste into a trap.
But Thomas turns the quiet file on, and it projects a holographic mathematical map of the entire urban lattice.
Every modified pillar, every acoustic node, every thread of influence the pruners hold is illuminated.
It's all visible now. So following the map, they descend into the deepest forgotten levels of the city's infrastructure, locating the central hub of the lattice.
And waiting for them at the core are 3 high-ranking pruners.
The pruners attempt to use the immense broadcast power of the central hub to force a system-wide catastrophic override of Thomas's mind.
They try to forcefully sever his connection to his own past.
Yes.
But the climax of this novel is so deeply empowering because it rejects the typical sci-fi tropes.
It really does.
There's no countdown clock on a bomb, no physical brawl. It is a sheer battle of willpower and remembrance. I mean, they literally defeat the bad guys by refusing to forget.
What's fascinating here is, if we connect this to the broader thematic architecture of the novel, Bonaldi is making a profound statement about individual agency. The pruner's fatal flaw is underestimating the bedrock function of memory. Memory is not just a ledger of events, right? It's the absolute foundation of autonomy. If your history is curated by an external force, your present choices are not your own.
You cannot exercise free will if the context of your life has been secretly edited.
Exactly. By aggressively reclaiming the memory of Lydia, Thomas introduces an unprunable variable into the highly ordered system.
I love that. Unprunable.
Yeah, his refusal to surrender his trauma creates a localized feedback loop of such intense cognitive resonance that it literally overloads the central hub.
He severs the pruner's connection to the network.
The holograms dissolve. The oppressive sub-bass hum fades away.
And the most beautiful part of the resolution is what happens to the network. Powered by the quiet file, the urban lattice reverses its function.
Instead of broadcasting a frequency of erasure, it broadcasts a restorative harmonic back through the concrete pillars and subway tunnels.
Right, so across the entire city, millions of stolen prune memories gently cascade back into the minds of the people who lived them. Thomas's memory of Lydia is fully restored, and the missing pieces of his life snap back into place.
It restores natural order, but it also leaves the reader with a heavy sense of ongoing responsibility.
So what does this all mean? What does this deep dive mean for you listening right now? We obviously don't live in a dystopian city where asymmetrical concrete pillars beam infrasonic frequencies into our auditory cortexes to erase our childhood traumas.
Well, thankfully not.
Right. But we do live in an era characterized by unprecedented information curation.
Yes, the quiet theory serves as a highly effective metaphor for the very real external systems that manage our attention and our worldview.
Think about the algorithms governing your digital life.
Exactly. The curated feeds that decide what news you consume, what historical context you're exposed to, and what voices are amplified or silenced.
These algorithms function very much like the pruners. They maintain a specific alignment of your reality, quietly pruning information that falls outside a desired behavioral model.
Guardianship of the truth is not a passive state. You have to actively interrogate the structures that deliver your reality. Like Thomas and Celeste at the end of the novel, we must be the keepers of our own memories and intentions.
It takes immense conscious effort to hold on to the truth in a noisy world. But there is another layer to this that is even more intimate. Bonaldi externalizes the concept of pruning, putting it in the hands of a shadow organization. But what about our own biological hardware?
That's a great point.
The human brain is the original pruner. We naturally repress memories to survive trauma. We forget the mundane to save cognitive space. We smooth out our past mistakes to protect our egos.
We do it all the time.
So if you were handed the quiet file today, a technology that would instantly restore every single forgotten moment of your life, every painful rejection, every repressed grief, and every unvarnished truth about who you really are, would you actually activate it?
I mean, that's the real question, isn't it?
It is. Or would you realize that maybe, just maybe, you rely on your own internal pruners to survive? Next time you find yourself unable to recall a specific detail from your past, ask yourself, is it just organic decay? Or is your mind protecting you from a resonance you aren't ready to hear?